I don't know, man. For me, like Scott is like, he is like legitimately a hero. Like he's like who
I loved Scott.
Yeah, like talk about him a little bit, Scott Wilson.
First time I really did a scene with Scott. But Scott used to sneak into my trailer all the time, and he'd have a little flask, and he'd be like, "Shut the door," you know. I'd be like, "Get in here." But he and I became really good friends. I just loved Scott, you know. I think because I didn't know my dad as much as I'd have liked to. When I find guys that I really respect of that age, I stick to them. I did it with Chris Christopherson. Like I stick to them, and I'm like, I don't know what it is, and I just love them. And Scott was so open. He was so honest. Last time I saw Scott was at his house. We were all at his house, and we were watching his In Cold Blood audition. Yeah. And he's sitting there next to me, and he can't speak very well. And we're sitting there watching. The room's totally quiet. And I looked over at him, and he looked over at me, and I go, "You're such a fucking asshole." And he just starts laughing, you know. And I regretted not being able to come to his funeral. And he died right on the same day my daughter was born.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and I couldn't go because we were in labor.
Dude, that's fucking heavy. I can't remember that now.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Wow.
And that's why I wasn't there.
That's right. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I have so many Scott Wilsons.
Oh yeah, I mean, and by the way, man, like that dude could like, I mean, you and me were like getting after it back then, and like, that dude fucking, I mean,
crushed us.
Crushed. It was like fucking like hot joke. It would be like 4 a.m. You and me would be like I mean, just so disgusting and shameful how we were, and we would be like stumbling back, and Scott would just be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go back," you know,
I'm gonna go get
I'm gonna go get
clam chowder down the street at the
totally
casino.
Fine. Totally fine. Yeah.
He was the best.
One of a kind. And I know like when Sarah was on, did you see that I had Sarah on this?
I did, yeah.
Thing. And like you know, I know we like when she and I talked, we talked a little bit about Frank and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Man. Like what's your thing on Frank? Like how do you?
I didn't know Frank as well as you guys knew Frank.
Yeah.
I kind of came on. It was only 6 episodes, right? I came on number 3, you know. And Frank didn't have the conversations with, he was like in love with you and Andy and Sarah. You guys were the group. So I didn't know him as well as you knew him. I just met him, you know? And then, you know, you guys went to Comic-Con, I believe, and it was announced while he was at Comic-Con, some crazy, shady shit like that. I was bummed.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, working with him, and he was so in it. Like I remember that at one point they were like, you need, you know, I'm crawling under a car and I jump up behind T-Dog and all this stuff happens, and the makeup artist, he was like, Norman needs more dirt, and she's like, no, that matches, and he goes, ugh, he picks up grease off the ground and just wipes it across my face, and I was like, oh my God, I love you so much, you know. And you remember back then, especially, all I wanted to be was filthy. I was so dirty. I would steal the dirt, take it back to my room, and apply more to it when they weren't looking. Like, and they'd be like, "You're so filthy." I was like, "I want them to smell me and shoot the television screen." I just loved it. I'm a dude. Yes. But Frank to work with, he was so inspirational, and it's true what Sarah said about the scripts. We got 6 scripts right off the bat.
Well, yeah. Less than a year before the start, I was like in jail. I was like, that show like saved my life. So for me, I was like, the fact that you gave me this shot was like I'd never had a big gig for me. So I was like, but you just got your fucking star on the Hollywood fucking Walk of Fame, man. You know, in the last second, you know, like I was going to make the speech for you, you know what I mean? Which was like fucking crazy. And I called Sarah like the night before. I called everybody, but I called Sarah and I was like, man, like what should I say about Norman? And she was like, do you know what you said to me like at the end of season 1 about Norman? I was like, what? You were like, I think he's allergic to acting. He's allergic to bullshit. He's allergic to pretension. Because I used to say this thing about you where like your acting style was just like bursts of authentic. Like I would be there like trying to like kill somebody, and then I would like look over and see the way that you were doing it, and it was just like so fucking real, you know? And it was like these bursts of just like absolute inarguable authentic moments, right? Like, are you aware of that? Do you feel like that?
No. I mean, I guess there's certain things I don't give a fuck about. Maybe I got beat up too much as a kid, and I don't know. My first job, right? I was working at a motorcycle place in Venice, right? Called Dr. Carl's Hog Hospital, right? I got fired from that job, somehow ended up in a play. The play turned into a movie, and I didn't know what I was doing on the first movie, and my dad was dying, right? And there was a scene in the movie where, he comes out in a wheelchair, and he kind of stands up out of the wheelchair and he gives me a hug, and it's this big emotional moment. And the director was like, how do you want to prepare for this? And I go, well, like, what are my options? Like, what do you do? I had no idea what I was doing. We talk for a second. He gives me a phone. I call my dad. He can barely talk on the phone. I hang up the phone. They come get me. And I just cried so much that one of the crew members said, at lunch, we're in Maine, right? And everyone ate in a tent. He goes, I didn't go to lunch. I went and took a little nap in my little room. And he said, nobody spoke. Like, that's how good that scene was. Everyone was just sat there and quiet. And I was like, oh, that's what this is. So I didn't learn to act, I kind of learned as I got jobs. I think if it would have been the other way, if I'd have gone to acting school or something like that, I think it would be different. I think I feel like everything sort of works the way it's supposed to work, but
like there's something about intentionality, right? Like there's something about like if you go to acting school, it's like, hey, I really want to do this. And a lot of people go to acting school. Right. They want to like be a star. They want to be an actor. They want to go be on stage. Like you didn't. Like
I'm still not sure I do.
Right. Yeah. So tell me about that.
I like doing other things too, and I think if I had to do a lot of the stuff I feel like you're told you have to do, especially in places like this, I don't think it would hold my interest, I think I'm very aware of time. I'm very aware of mortality. I'm very aware of wasting energy on things, and I don't want to waste any time, which is probably why I do so much shit, I want to learn stuff. I want to make real connections. The Star is awesome. I can't believe I got a star in Hollywood. It's fucking insane. But will I talk about it again? Probably not, unless somebody brings it up. The acting thing, I'm still learning about it, which is, I think, what's holding my interest, There's something about being on this TV show this long where people see me age in real time that I find kind of interesting. Yeah. I'm always looking for those friendships like we had starting that show. I'm always chasing that, But I don't, it's not that I don't give a fuck, because I do give a fuck, but there's a lot of things I think that I don't give a fuck about it as well. I remember being in, I think it was junior high, and I'm at another new school, and I'm walking home down an alley, and there's this group on the side, and there's this group on the side, and there's a bunch of guys and a bunch of guys, and I'm walking down the middle, and it's some annual fight they have, and I'm walking down, and they go, "Hey, which side are you fighting on?" And I went, "Fuck you both." And I walked down, and they all beat me up, and they got along great after that. It was, fuck you and fuck you. And I think I still kind of have that attitude.
100%.
You know what I mean? So,
like, where do you think that sense of like mortality and time, like, where do you think that comes from?
I think it comes from my dad dying. My mom used to sell coffins, right? She called them eternal beds. So I went to a lot of funerals. I'm just aware of it. I'm aware of, like, time goes really quick. I don't really bullshit very much, I'm not good at small talk.